There's something hauntingly beautiful about the beginning of Path of Exile 2. You wake up alone, cast out, broken, but you're not defeated. Act 1 doesn't just introduce you to the game, it introduces you to yourself, the Exile. And for many players, that first act is where the magic truly lives. It's often cited as the most compelling and immersive segment of the game. And as someone who has played the current campaign 6 times now, I kind of agree. Patch 0.3 is debuting Act 4, continuing the campaign narrative from where we left off before Cruel. So before the end of August, I wanted to reflect on one topic that has been a mainstay since launch: how most players revere Act 1 in comparison to Acts 2 and 3. This topic has been brewing in my mind since 0.1. Before I could act upon it, real-world priorities took center stage, and thus this video was delayed. And yet, that might have been a blessing in disguise, because after taking 3 characters to endgame, I was able to gather even more thoughts based on my repeated experiences, and I'd like to share them. Now, let's look into why Act 1 has become the campaign darling thus far. Load it up. In Act 1, you are the story. The narrative is tightly focused on the exile's personal journey. From the moment you wash ashore, every decision feels like it belongs to the player. The quests feel intimate, and the NPCs speak to you like you matter, reinforcing the central role in the story. The exile is not just a pawn. You're not even a chosen one, just another survivor. Therefore, you're not just reacting, you're shaping the world around you, becoming a fulcrum of change, and that makes your journey feel earned when choosing to help members of the encampment. Putting down the Devourer, hunting the Crowbell, confronting the King of the Mist, retrieving Una's loot and Renly's tools. They're all not necessary for the plot to progress, but rewarding if time is invested. This sense of agency creates a strong emotional bond between the player and their avatar. Becoming the exile is not yet overshadowed by grander forces, and their motivations are clear: survive, grow stronger, and reclaim dignity. The exile's motivation in Act 1 is visceral and relatable. They are driven by revenge and the desire to reclaim their place in the world. The antagonists are tangible: bandits, cultists, and corrupted leaders. The stakes are immediate and personal. We feel the exile's anger and desperation. The world is cruel, but we fight back. This clarity of motivation makes Act 1's story compelling. Players understand what they're fighting for and why it matters. Take out Geonor and ensure that everyone in Clearfell is at ease. The story is linear, but it's rich, with clear cause and effect relationships. But as you move into Acts 2 and 3, that agency begins to slip away. The narrative shifts focus from personal survival to cosmic conflict. Enter the Hooded One, a mysterious figure who knows more than they say and says way more than they should, while becoming the focal point of the story. Thus, after taking your revenge and enacting justice on the Count, the exile inevitably becomes a vessel for prophecy rather than a character with personal stakes. Suddenly, your motivations aren't your own. The exile is increasingly sidelined in favor of exposition about ancient gods and forgotten empires. The missions become more about fulfilling the Hooded One's vision than pursuing the exile's own goals, a cryptic vision, and players often feel like passive participants in a story they don't fully understand. While chasing visions, fulfilling destinies, unraveling ancient prophecies adds mystery and grandeur, it also robs the exile of narrative ownership. The player's avatar becomes a pawn in a cosmic chess game. This transition dilutes the emotional investment players felt in Act 1. The exile is no longer the architect of their fate, but a tool wielded mainly by the Hooded One, but also Asala, Alva, and other unseen hands, becoming this mythical vessel, or as Doriani says, the demon of Atsuato, a metaphorical agent of chaos, not a character who through their own choices becomes a force of nature, and thus, the emotional connection we felt starts to fade away. Act 1's setting is steeped in Gothic European aesthetics. It's familiar, dark, but fresh and never dull. The environments are thematically unified, creating a sense of place and mood. Dark forests, foggy graveyards, plague-ridden villages, and crumbling cathedrals. This atmosphere resonates deeply with players, evoking classic horror from the typical medieval fantasy with emotional weight. Because Gothic Europe is a well-trodden aesthetic in fantasy games, and it makes it instantly immersive. The art direction, the music, the environmental storytelling all reinforce this, creating a haunting and memorable experience. Act 2 shifts to a desert landscape inspired by Middle Eastern architecture and mythology. Visually stunning, but emotionally disconnected from the narrative established in Act 1. Though Act 2 introduces new lore and enemies, the sudden thematic shift undermines continuity. Act 3 ventures into a jungle setting with Aztec-inspired ruins and sacrificial cults. While ambitious, this theme suffers from similar issues as Act 2. The environments are dense and chaotic, making navigation and storytelling more difficult. The Exile's connection to this world feels tenuous, further distancing players from the story, feeling like a tourist in someone else's myth. While Act 2 and 3 offer exotic locales, they lack the emotional thematic cohesion of Act 1's Gothic European setting, because it's not just about where you are, it's about why you're there. Act 1 is tightly paced with a clear beginning, middle, and end. Each zone introduces new mechanics, enemies, and lore in digestible chunks. The players feel a steady sense of growth and accomplishment. Every quest builds upon the story with organic tension. This structure makes Act 1 feel polished and rewarding, and just when you're ready for more, it ends. Acts 2 and 3, riddled with pacing issues, leading to larger zones and convoluted quests. They're longer, more sprawling, more bloated. The story lacks urgency, and we struggle to stay emotionally invested because the narrative meanders. The urgency fades, the rhythm breaks, the longer length of these acts dilute their impact, and without a tight structure, the story starts to feel like a chore. Act 1 of Path of Exile 2 isn't just the beginning, it's the emotional and artistic high point of the campaign thus far. It empowers the exile with agency, purpose, grounds their motivation in personal stakes. It gives you a world that feels alive and a character that feels real. In contrast, Act 2 and 3 dilute these strengths with thematic shifts, narrative hijacking, and bloated pacing. Even when expanding the game's scope and ambition, they lose the intimacy and clarity that made Act 1 so compelling. And maybe that's why even after the gods awaken, even after the prophecies unfold, we still remember the moment we washed ashore alone, but ready. Thanks for watching. If you felt the same way about Act 1, or if you disagree, drop a comment below. Act 4 is a few days away and looks to have large potential. And if you want more deep dives into the worlds we love, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay curious, Exiles. You know the vibes. It's Kaizoku Sleven. Appreciate you.